Hi, I'm Jeff, and this is Lithic Metals. Welcome to the lab. This is a great specimen I picked up a few years ago. It was actually on one of my very first trip, actually, copper hunting. My buddy Jeremy and I went out together, and we got lucky. We found a beautiful spot and collected some great specimens, and we've been hooked ever since. This little beauty here weighs, I don't know exactly. I think it's about 4.5 to 5 pounds, less than a milk jug for sure, but boy, it's close. It's so compact, so beautiful. I wish the camera was picking it up like my eyes do. This is all just shining and sparkling to me. And what I'm seeing in the camera is not. But you can see this specimen is littered with copper. Hopefully you can see it. I know it's a little blurry. This piece here, it actually vibrates the whole thing. Hard to hear it with the gloves on. I can't get it right. But yeah, great specimen. Now I didn't find this obviously on my last trip in the summer of 2020. What I did do is, or what I did have is a big bucket of specimens that, they weren't extremely thrilling. And that's one of the reasons it took me so long to make part 2 of this series here. I wanted to get right to it, had every intention to, but I wanted to make this video informative, fun, kind of cool perhaps even. I love these copper specimens. I love going up to the UP, in the Keweenaw Peninsula, Copper Harbor area. All these mines that you can get permission to go and explore, and man, they're just so great. They're so great. I look forward to this summer. I definitely want to make a few more trips. Last year didn't go as planned with the whole COVID thing. It kind of got in the way. But here we are. Let me clear this away. One of my favorite specimens, my buddy that went with me on this trip, who's gone with me on many of my trips, he has the counter to this piece. It's another beautiful piece that stands upright, and yeah, it's gorgeous. Well, let's take a look here. You see this white here? That's mostly quartz. I mean, that's a quartz type of. I'm not a mineral specialist by any means. A lot of these specimens that come and they have white minerals on them, white rock on them, a lot of that is calcite, which you put that specimen, that piece in hydrochloric acid, and that calcite eats right up. This didn't. So that leads me to believe that it's obviously quartz. Hey, if anybody knows better, let me know. Here is what I picked out of the specimens I found on the last trip. They weren't incredibly exciting. Like I mentioned, I wanted to make it really cool, and I picked through everything, and a lot of the pieces I picked up were just big chunks of basalt with thin veins of copper running through them. And now you need to bust those apart to get to them, and those are cool too, because you can pull up a specimen like this that's super thin, that runs through the middle of the rock, and you get this sheet of copper, which is always really cool. But it takes work to get to it, and I just haven't made the time. So let's take a look at what we got here. Copper running through it. A lot of times it'll oxide either green or black, even blue, depending on the minerals that are present. This isn't the greatest piece, but it has some cool stuff in it. Here too, we got some cool copper and some minerals chasing after it. The minerals are almost as exciting, or not even almost, but as exciting as the copper itself, because boy, you can really come up with some cool stuff. Most of my favorite pieces, the most beautiful ones, I should say, I've either sold or given away over the years. Now, what I did here on these is I just washed them in water, scrubbed them with a little brush, and that's how they came out. To further process these, I could clean them up with some diluted hydrochloric acid and a couple other things, a couple little tricks that I've learned. I think I'll do a future video, maybe after some of the next copper runs, maybe where we clean some of these up a little bit better. Let's see here. I haven't tested this. It looks like quartz. Calcite is usually a little more milky. But the lighting in here isn't the greatest. Eventually I'll fix all that, or at least try to improve it. But here you see a nice chunk of copper piercing out of the side of this specimen. See if we can get a closer view. It's got some green oxides coating it. Here's a cool specimen here. What's showing up in the camera is like a yellowy brown, but it's actually, the brown here is copper, and then we have green crystals that a couple years ago, if you would have asked, I would have said that they were malachite. Did I pronounce that right? Malachite. But it could also be chloraestrolite, the greenstone. I think it's Michigan State rock. I'm not a mineral expert. I got into a big kick for a while there, trying to learn everything. But gosh, my brain only holds so much, you know. So after a couple of years, you forget it. And you'd think with like the several month hiatus that I had in between the last videos, I would have studied back up for it, but I never made time. You see all the fractures in this rock. I don't know if I could. It's still held together very strong with the metallic copper running through it. Yeah, we could run these underwater, see what we have here. I don't know if you remember this piece from the first video. I wasn't sure what it was. I thought perhaps it was a chunk of lead, and sure enough, yeah, it's a piece of lead pipe. I can't say that it's officially an artifact from the mine, but it leads me to believe that it would be this chunk of crushed pipe. This, on the other hand, this is an artifact from the mine. Let's see if I can get it into focus. This is an actual chip from these gouging blades that would dig into the ore and create these little chips. And I found probably half a dozen of them over the years. So yeah, this is literally an artifact from the mine. So that's something I'll save and put aside. This is basically a big chunk of copper, which I love finding these where it's not that much matrix. It's just copper, because they can be pretty fun, you know, if they're kind of ugly specimens. In the past, I've made a few things out of them. Yeah, I'll show you that in a bit. And here's another, just a chunk of copper. Like I said, I just ran them underwater, so I didn't really clean them up too good. Let's give them a little squirt and just see how they look any different here. This is such a wonderful piece. I wish it showed up better in this lighting. You don't see the green crystal at all. That's a shame. But you'd know it right away. When you go out in the field, you see it from 10 yards away. Yeah, no real big spectacular changes by getting them wet. You know, somehow, usually water will bring out the beauty of a few stones, but Here you can see the green on this a little bit better. These are oxides or minerals that formed because of the copper. In most copper deposits, I believe around the world, that's the form you find your copper in, are these oxides or these co-mineral deposits. It's rare to find solid metallic copper around the world. But yeah, so this was like, these were like the best pieces that I could find. And I shouldn't be disappointed. Finding a little artifact is great. A secondary one with this pipe perhaps even is pretty cool. Got a couple little chunks that I can clean up and work with. This one here, like I mentioned, solid copper chunks like that. If you can find ugly float copper, which is copper that is basically released of all the matrix and was kind of ground up by the ice age and just kind of left sitting there by itself. This piece right here is a piece of float copper. This is the first piece that I found. The very first piece that I pulled up, it was solid green, like you see here, all the way around. I didn't know what really, when I went out there, I didn't know much about the history of the copper mining out there. And when I found this, I thought, it's just kind of like a chunk of waste material, iron or something that the miners dropped. I saw that it was green, so I had obviously had hopes, but I didn't know. I didn't know if it was just a piece of melted chunk of something or what, since it was all rounded. But come to find out, yeah, this is a great specimen of float copper. And one of my most favorite pieces, especially being that it's the first. My second piece is right here. This piece, I made the mistake of cleaning it up before I really knew anything about it. This piece was solid black. Black as coal. And I didn't know what it was. I really thought it was like drips of melting iron. I pictured tool makers, iron workers out there, and iron or molten metal just dripping down to the ground and collecting in a certain spot. But no, what this is copper crystals. They're not extremely defined. They've been worn down because they've been essentially float copper, just sitting, going around in nature for how many thousands of years, and they kind of wore down. You see some definition here. But yeah, at first I didn't know what I was picking up at all, and then I cleaned it up, and it's beautiful now. It's got this great goldish bronzy color. But yeah, I did regret cleaning it up. I got so anxious. I ruined a lot of pieces actually when I first started because I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to see what was up. This is another example of crystals, copper crystals. Another cluster of them that I found. Yeah, but finding that float copper, finding stuff that doesn't have a lot of matrix on it, it can give you opportunities to make a few things. I actually took some of that stuff when I first started. One of the first things I did was I pounded a chunk of it into a square. So I literally took another rock and started smashing this copper rock, broke off the little bit of matrix that was there, and just pounded it into a little square. And I've had it ever since. Nothing too super special, but it was a fun, cool little thing to play with and actually form something out of nature. I could have easily started with something like this. This was kind of a unique piece. This is the only one I've found like this. I found a big chunk of rock, knew it had copper inside. I split it in two, and I had this round pellet here. This vug, is that how you pronounce a void like this? With this copper piece just sitting inside like that. And I have never seen any copper chunks that were just in a little pocket like this. And I thought that was pretty amazing, so I saved it. Usually they spider and run through the cracks of older matrix, from pressure or whatever. Cracks form within the matrix, and a solution is driven through there, and the deposits form one way or the other. So that's usually what you'll see. You'll see something more in the shape of, let's see, something like this specimen. You'll be like, oh, that's copper crystals. It's not. It's not crystalline copper. There's pieces that really might look like it too, because they got these great faces that might have been up against crystals, or a face that appeared to be. But what this is just where it squeezed through the cracks in the rock, and once I blasted all the matrix off, this is what's left behind. Yeah, so we got our little chunks of flow copper, a couple various specimens. Here's the first piece of copper that I melted down. It was a decent sized specimen, and I didn't really know what I was doing at all. It's got this cool coating over the top of it now. It looks like an old penny. And then on the bottom, very hard to see, on the bottom there are little specks within. Maybe you can kind of pick it up over here on the left side. That just never tarnished. And it always made me wonder, even after all these years, they never tarnish. These little teeny specks all over that are gold color. And it always makes me wonder, could there have been gold in this sample? And it just fell to the bottom. I never stirred it. I just melted it into a blob on a brick, on a little cup that I made out of a brick. And there's also, I don't know what else it could be, but silver, a silver shining on this area here too. So someday I'm gonna get this little piece tested. Wish you could see it as good as I do, but so I got silver, little gold. I can't imagine that those metals just sank to the bottom, and there they were. I didn't stir it. I would think that the atoms are moving so fast that they would kind of stir enough by themselves. Perhaps they'd settle towards the bottom if they're heavier, but I don't know. But this was my first button. This is my first copper bar. Made that quite a few years ago now. But yeah, my first copper bar made out of pure copper from the UP. I shouldn't say it's pure. It's not like 4/9's fine pure, but it's definitely pure native copper. Using those, I have these here too. Using flow copper like this also afforded me the opportunity to explore with a couple experiments. Let's see. This is the first one I did. What I did, like I said earlier, I just took one rock and I started smashing it with another rock. Obviously, one was actually copper, and gave me the opportunity to make this little blade. And I found a coyote that passed away out on a hike, so I made use of the jaw. But yeah, the blade itself, if I can get it into focus here, turned out really cool. Smashed it with another rock. I learned that if you smash a piece of copper, it hardens, right? And then if you take the copper you're working on, heat it up to red hot, you can actually use that smashed hardened copper to slice grooves into your freshly softened copper. It takes a while, and they're not very pretty, but it did work. And made this very, very primitive blade that, I don't know, I love it though. I love it. And so this is my first leather work. So, copper, you never know where these specimens are going to take you. And a couple years later, I made a second one that I wasn't as impressed with, but it was still fun. I didn't have as big of a sampled piece to work with, but yeah, still. A lot of fun, a lot of good opportunities for experiments and learning new things about this stuff. I can imagine what the natives did with all their points. Man, the history up in that area is just amazing. Truly, what I want to get into is start to hunt for the artifacts up there, the copper spear points that are up there. Just amazing. I'm in a few groups on Facebook that where the locals and some of the universities, different educators show examples of these different projectile points, spear points. Just amazing. Hopefully one day I'll have some of those to share with you. All right, so here were the specimens that I found on the last trip. Here's just a quick tray of pieces that I found on a couple prior trips. I showed you this one earlier where the material just bubbles up through the matrix and forms these branch-like pieces. I can't think of the word I wanted to use. Here's an artifact. This is actually like a chisel point that was on a larger piece of equipment, obviously, and this was pretty cool to find. At first I thought, oh, could this be a Native American artifact? But lo and behold, I learned pretty quick that it was not. Plus, it's iron, it's magnetic. So that was a dead giveaway right away. That was the first thing I tested. More of the green. The greenstone, perhaps, or the malachite. But again, the camera doesn't really want to pick it up. Different samples here. A lot of these they're chalky looking, dusty. They're just there's not much to them. A lot of times, if I do treat these, I get them cleaned up, I get them polished, and even a couple times, like this one here, my original piece, I clear coated it with lacquer, so it pretty much is perpetually in the same condition now, and I don't have to keep retreating it. So. Yeah, one of the final things that I'll do is if I want to clean these up, use the hydrochloric acid, diluted. I started, I think, with various toilet bowl cleaners. Will get you started just to clean up, but you want to be careful with all that stuff. You're releasing chemicals that you don't know what's in there. I've never taken like one of these rocks and just hit those with the torch and to try to burn it off. You don't know what kind of poisonous stuff is locked in there. So even if you have good ventilation and stuff, I don't know if it's worth it. I think it's better off smashing it off or using water or certain acids to take it off. When I get it to a certain point where I want to clean it, this is the cleaner I use. They are in no way a sponsor of this video or anything like that, so they can't be held responsible for my actions. But this cream works real well. You can dab it on a little piece, and what it does is it makes it. Why don't we do a little bit here? Let me grab a brush. What it does is essentially makes the piece like a brand new penny, bright pink, too bright, almost like ugly bright. It's what you're seeing here. Before I did this video, this copper was so dull and brown, it was actually perfect to my eyes because I love that hue in it. In the right reflection, it almost shines back as gold looking, and it's gorgeous. But I did that to that specimen and this specimen, so it turns the copper this pinky color, which is great. It really makes it pop out. But then after a couple days, it starts to turn brown a little bit, and it's actually a better hue. So we could take this piece. This piece has a really good. This would be a great piece for smashing and making into something. because it's not like the coolest specimen in the world, but you can do something with it. Let's see if I can pick out a good one that would benefit from this here. This is a great looking specimen here. Let's see if I got some water. I do. Let me get this wet. Alright, let me see how brown that is. I'm just going to take a little dab and put it on a brush here. And it's already taking that brown coating off. I don't know how much it changes in the camera's view, but it definitely did to my eyes here. Let me rinse it off quick. Yeah. So you see it went from that brown color to this bright pink, which is it looks neat. It's got this really cool metallic look. Come on, please. Gosh, I wanted this video to be good for you. I'm gonna have to get like a macro lens so I can show some of these up close. But yeah, here we are. Turned it pink. So, and I can't get it into focus for nothing. There. You know, what's also cool is if you would take sandpaper to this. I don't want to do it because it's kind of a cool specimen as it is, but you take sandpaper to this and right away you're going to get shiny metallic copper. It is just, it's crazy when, you know, I went through my whole life finding all kinds of different rocks and maybe when I was a kid finding some rocks with little teeny bits of gold in it, and that was really great. But then to see these huge rocks with these massive amounts of metallic metal running through them, it's just, it is so neat. And to know that you can take a chunk and just start working it right away. It's pretty fun, pretty cool. If you like metal detecting, if you like exploring, if you want to see some beautiful territory, Michigan's Upper Peninsula is definitely a great place to explore. All right, I think I'm going to close it right here. It's already probably a pretty long video. I appreciate it if you made it this long. I really, really do appreciate it. I've picked up, the channel's picked up about 500 new subscribers since the last time I made a video. And I want to say thank you. Thank you to you guys, all you subscribers. Man, that is so cool. That is really what drove me to, I got to get this done so I can move forward. I have like 4 months of great content all stacked up on the hard drive. Bunch of 5-ounce gold bars, another 10-ounce gold bar, a few different series that I'm working on, some great refines, and we're getting close to 750 subscribers. So I'm already starting to plan ahead to the 1,000 subscriber mark, and I'm going to have a giveaway at that point. So all you subscribers, thanks a lot, and I look forward to getting a few of you some pieces. I think we're gonna have some gold giveaways, silver, all in one time. I'm not gonna stretch it out. We're gonna have a video that presents it. There's gonna be prizes that are gold, silver crystal. We're gonna have some fun with it, and hopefully I can show some of my appreciation to you guys. It's really cool to see those subscriber numbers tick up like that, especially since I haven't been doing much. But I do have a lot of great content. I just got to edit it and put it together. And now that this is out of the way, hey, we can move forward. So thanks. Thanks for checking out the video. If you stuck around this long, if you like seeing these specimens, maybe want to see some more in the future, hit the like button, let me know in the comments, and subscribe. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I do appreciate it very much. It's going to really help my channel moving forward and my motivation in getting these done. And hopefully I can get out some, it's not hopefully, and I will be getting out some great prizes to you guys, as great gifts to you guys for showing your support to me. So thank you very much. I'm Jeff. This is Lithic Metals, and I'll see you next time.